podcast. Your host, Dr. KellyRae, is a renowned mindset coach and counselor, often referred to as the inner critic tamer. With a passion for guiding individuals through life's challenges, she specializes in personal growth and emotional healing. In each episode, Dr. KellyRae shares invaluable insights, practical strategies, and relatable stories designed to inspire you to take that first step toward positive change. So, grab your favorite beverage, settle in, and get ready to dive deep into meaningful conversations that empower you on your journey. Let's welcome Dr. KellyRae.
Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Getting to the Week. I'm your host, Dr. KellyRae, and as always, I'm so glad you're here spending time with me. Over the last few years, I've been noticing something that I think many people, especially women, don't even realize they're carrying. Survival mode. I'm not just talking about surviving difficult moments temporarily, but living in a state where survival quietly becomes the identity. And to be fair, I know there's many like me who have unconsciously lived in this state longer than just the last few years. It's that state where being the strong one becomes so normal that you no longer know who you are outside of responsibility, pressure, caretaking, overthinking, fixing, preparing, or emotionally holding everything together. And honestly, I don't think most people consciously choose this. I think life happens. Pain happens. Disappointment happens. Heartbreak happens. Stress happens. Loss happens. And little by little, we adapt. We become more capable, more independent, more resilient, more self-reliant. Until one day we look around and realize we don't actually know how to relax anymore. I know for myself, even going on vacation, I'd have everything planned out so it could feel like I was relaxing. But in reality, I was merely minimizing any hiccups along the way. I was always on alert to make sure things went smoothly. That's not actually relaxing, just saying. The thing is, some have been doing this so long, you don't even know how to fully rest, fully trust, fully receive, fully let go. Because somewhere along the way, survival stopped being something we were moving through and became who we believed we had to be. I know I did. And maybe some of you listening today know exactly what I mean. Maybe you're the person everyone depends on, the responsible one, the helper, the planner, the fixer, the go-to person, the emotionally aware one, the person who keeps functioning even when you're exhausted. And maybe people look at you and think, wow, she's so strong, without realizing how exhausting it can become to always be her. Because I'll let you in on a little secret here. She doesn't know who she can lean on because everyone around her seems to depend on him. Truth be told, it's not necessarily just all of them that are the problem. It's her too, for she's conditioned her environment to always be the one. So today, I want to talk about survival mode, how it quietly shapes identity, why so many strong women are secretly exhausted, why rest can actually feel uncomfortable, and what it means to slowly learn how to soften without losing yourself. Wherever you are in the world today, Grab yourself a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's start this conversation. You know, one of the things I've realized over time is that survival mode doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks highly functional. Sometimes it looks like productivity, achievement, responsibility, caretaking, being dependable, always handling things, always figuring things out, always preparing for worst case scenarios. And because society often praises these qualities, many people never realize they're actually living in a chronic state of emotional self-protection. We call it being driven, responsible, independent, strong. But underneath that string is often nervous system that learned very early on, it's safer if I stay prepared. It's safer if I stay in control. It's safer if I don't need too much. It's safer if I handle things myself. And what's interesting is that many people who live this way don't even recognize how exhausted they are because survival mode has become normal. The body adapts to stress. The mind adapts to pressure. The nervous system adapts to hypervigilance until stillness almost feels uncomfortable. And maybe some of you listening today know exactly what that feels like. You finally get a quiet moment, and instead of feeling peaceful, your mind starts racing, thinking of all the things that you still need to do. You sit down to rest, and suddenly feel guilty for not being productive. You finally experience calm, and part of you starts waiting for something bad to happen, for that other shoe to drop. Because when the body has spent years preparing for stress, uncertainty, disappointment, or emotional instability, peace can actually feel unfamiliar. And unfamiliar can sometimes feel unsafe. I think many strong people unknowingly become addicted to emotional preparedness, always thinking ahead, always anticipating problems, always scanning, always carrying responsibility. And eventually, that way of functioning becomes identity. Not because we're weak, but because human beings adapt to what they repeatedly experience. And honestly, I think many women, especially, were conditioned to become emotionally over-responsible very early in life. But truly, I don't think survival mode belongs to one gender. I think men often experience this too, just in different ways. Many men were conditioned to suppress emotion, carry pressure silently, provide, protect, keep functioning, and never fully express what they're carrying internally. So while survival may wear different faces across men and women, emotional exhaustion is a very human experience. I think many people, regardless of gender, quietly learned, keep going, just handle it, don't fall apart, don't burden anyone. And after years of living that way, many people no longer know who they are outside of survival itself. But I do think many women were specifically conditioned towards emotional overfunctioning, to care for everyone else, to hold things together, to anticipate needs, to minimize their own needs, to emotionally manage situations. So much so that women, many women, don't even realize how disconnected they've become from themselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And honestly, I think this is why we're seeing so many women struggling with things like chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, high-functioning depression, autoimmune diseases like lupus and Hashimoto's, POTS, CPTSD, anxiety, burnout, hormonal dysregulation, and nervous system exhaustion. Not because they don't care about themselves, but because survival often teaches people to prioritize functioning over feeling. I think one of the loneliest experiences in adulthood is being deeply capable while secretly feeling emotionally exhausted underneath it all. Because capable people often don't receive the same kind of support. People assume you're doing fine because you're functioning. You're still going to work, still taking care of everyone, still handling responsibilities, still showing up, still solving problems, still carrying things. So no one realizes how heavy it's become internally. And I think many strong women become so accustomed to carrying emotional weight that they stop recognizing how much they're holding. The emotional labor, the mental load, the decision fatigue, the constant thinking, the constant planning, the constant responsibility. And after a while, survival mode can create a strange relationship with exhaustion. You become so used to pushing through that resting almost feels uncomfortable. You tell yourself, I'll rest after this. Yeah, I'll slow down later. I just need to get through this one thing. But here's the thing, there's always one more thing. And what I think many people quietly long for isn't necessarily someone to rescue them. It's someone they feel emotionally safe enough to put the weight down around. Not on someone else, but just to put it down. Someone they don't have to perform strength around all the time. Someone they can exhale around. And maybe some of you listening know exactly what I mean by that. To not always be the one holding everything together. To not always have to be emotionally composed. To not always feel responsible for everyone else's emotions, needs, or stability. Because underneath many highly capable people is often someone who's incredibly tired. Not lazy, not weak, not incapable, just tired from carrying so much for so long. You know, something I've been learning lately is that many people think exhaustion automatically leads to rest. But that's not always true. Sometimes exhaustion leads to more distraction, more scrolling, more working, more overthinking, more emotional numbing, more busyness. Because slowing down can actually feel vulnerable. When we stay busy constantly, we often avoid having to fully feel what's happening underneath the surface. And for many people, stillness becomes the place where buried emotions finally get loud enough to hear. Grief, loneliness, fear, uncertainty, disappointment, longing, emotional hunger, sadness, even anger. Sometimes people stay busy not because they love being busy, but because busyness protects them from feeling. And I think this is important to talk about because many people judge themselves harshly for struggling to slow down. But the nervous system adapts to survival. If someone spent years living in stress, unpredictability, emotional inconsistency, financial pressure, relationship instability, or constantly having to hold it together, their body may no longer associate stillness with safety. The body learns patterns. And this is why healing isn't just mental, it's physical too. Because chronic emotional stress affects sleep, hormones, digestion, energy, mood, inflammation, focus, emotional regulation. The body carries survival too. And honestly, I think many women have spent so many years disconnected from their own bodies that they no longer even recognize when they're depleted. They normalize exhaustion, normalize stress, normalize overwhelm, normalize emotional suppression. Until one day the body finally says, I can't carry life like this anymore. I think one of the hardest things for many strong people to learn is how to receive, not give. Most strong women know how to give beautifully. They know how to nurture, support, encourage, care for others, show up, sacrifice, provide, love. But receiving, that can feel deeply uncomfortable. Receiving help, receiving support, receiving rest, receiving affection, receiving care, receiving softness, receiving love without feeling like you have to earn it. And honestly, I think many women learned very early that love was connected to performance. Being useful, being needed, being good, being accommodating, being self-sacrificing, being everything for everyone. So later in life, simply receiving can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable, and it can feel unsafe. Because survival teaches us self-reliance. It teaches don't need too much, handle it yourself. Don't burden anyone. Stay strong. Don't let people see you struggle. But healing starts teaching something different. That needing support doesn't make you weak. That softness isn't failure. That receiving care doesn't mean losing independence. That vulnerability isn't the same as helplessness. And honestly, I think many people are starving emotionally while pretending they're perfectly fine. Starving for connection, for affection, for emotional safety, for tenderness, for someone to truly see them beyond what they provide for everyone else. I think one of the bravest things a person can do is slowly allow themselves to become seen again. I think for a long time, many of us believed strength meant enduring everything alone, holding it together, never falling apart, never needing help, always pushing through. But what if true strength is something deeper than that? What if true strength is becoming safe enough within yourself to soften? Not becoming passive, not losing boundaries, not abandoning discernment, not tolerating unhealthy behavior, but softening the constant state of emotional armor. Softening the belief that you always have to carry everything alone. Softening the fear that rest equals laziness, that vulnerability equals weakness, that needing connection makes you needy, that slowing down means falling apart. Because I think many strong women secretly crave softness, but are terrified it will cost them their safety. And maybe softness isn't weakness at all. Maybe softness is what happens when survival no longer has to lead every decision. Maybe softness is finally allowing yourself to breathe again, to trust yourself again, to reconnect with your body again, to feel peace without waiting for it to disappear, to stop performing strength every second of the day. And maybe healing isn't becoming someone who never gets triggered, never struggles, or never feels afraid. Maybe healing is slowly learning you no longer have to live your entire life bracing for impact. So if you're listening to this today and realizing how much your identity has been built around survival, I just want you to know something. There is nothing wrong with the version of you that learned how to survive. That version of you was incredibly intelligent. She adapted. She protected you. She carried you through difficult seasons. She kept going when life felt heavy. But maybe the next chapter of your life isn't only about surviving anymore. Maybe it's about learning how to live, learning how to rest, learning how to receive, learning how to reconnect with yourself, learning how to feel safe enough to soften without losing who you are. And honestly, this is the part of why I created Soft 30 Reset. Not because life suddenly becomes stress-free, but because many people need intentional ways to reconnect with themselves again physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. To nourish the body again, support the nervous system again, create consistency again, slow down enough to hear themselves again. Because healing isn't just mindset work, it's body work too. It's learning how to create safety within yourself again. So maybe this week, instead of asking yourself, how do I keep pushing through? You ask, what would help me feel supported? What would help me feel safe? What would help me soften a little? Maybe it's more rest. Maybe it's more honesty, more boundaries, more nourishment, more stillness, more support, more compassion towards yourself. And maybe, just maybe, the strongest thing you'll ever do is stop believing you have to carry life alone. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. And wherever you are in the world, please know I'm sending you so much love, encouragement, and support as you continue to get through your week. Be gentle with yourself this week. Some people look incredibly strong on the outside, while silently carrying exhaustion no one else can see. Until next week, my friends, take care of yourselves.
Thank you
and
for
each
joining
other.
us for another episode of the Getting Through the Week podcast with Dr. KellyRae. If you're looking to connect with her or schedule an appointment, here's how you can reach her. Follow her on Instagram at AskDrKellyRae. Check out her Facebook page at Dr. KellyRae. Find her on TikTok at Dr. KellyRae. Visit her website at drkellyrae.com. Or send her an email at drkellyrae@gmail.com. Until next week, Dr. KellyRae sends you so much love.